Well, hello there, and welcome to the Archeryshack Shop Talk number 154. I'm Jeremy.
I'm TJ.
I'm Bobby.
And we three amigos are here to talk to y'all today about rare wolves in the wilderness. I'm kidding. In all seriousness, we just took in some used bows, and if you're in the used bow market, we've got two Matthews fully decked out. What do we got here? A Reason?
A Reason 6.5 and Adrenaline.
An Adrenaline, and we're taking in a Bowtech soon. If you're interested in a good little bit few years old Matthews bow, give us a holler, 864-735-8484, or you can email my man Bobby at archeryshack.com. He is like the used car salesman of the bow world. He wheels and deals every day, and it's pretty cool. I feel like he should wear a cowboy hat. But in all seriousness, we got these two Matthews like decked out with Matthews quivers and drop-aways and the whole 9 yards. They're nice setups, a few years old. We'll figure out all the specifics, but if you were to be interested in one, holler, because I'm sure they won't be here long. This is 154. I had jotted down a few notes. Let's talk about current trends. And I put down limb-driven rest, clarifiers, chest packs, and the Cameron Hanes style. I feel like that's what's in right now. I feel like Ranch Fairy is out. Hadn't heard nobody talk about Ranch Fairy in 6 months to a little longer than that.
Yeah.
Even the guy that just left the shop was like, I was into that heavy arrow stuff, but that's kind of faded away, or at least around here it has. Like, I hadn't even had nothing pop up with Ranch Fairy on it.
I hadn't either.
So that's maybe a good thing.
Cameron Hanes keep on hammering. That's pretty out there all the time.
Well, because, like, we're selling the hell out of 80-pound bows.
Yep.
And it's not necessarily because of Cameron Hanes, because I feel like he's more of a out west influencer type person, but we're selling 80-pound bows, and which is crazy. But
Yeah.
as much as I don't want somebody to blow out their shoulder, like an 80-pound bow today really don't pull like an 80-pound bow did even 5 or 10 years ago. You know what I mean? They're a lot smoother. I mean, it does still, you know.
It's still heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our camera's blinking red to this recording, right? Yeah, it is. Okay.
I can't see
I
it.
just looked up there and I was like, oh, God. But I feel like we're slowly transitioning to like mostly limb-driven drop-away rest. I mean, you still got your QADs, but like we're all sold kind of on the limb-driven. Everybody else seems to be, so I think that's a good thing. Used to, clarifiers and that sort of thing was only talked about with tournament people.
Yeah.
And even tournament people, very, a smaller percentage used them. Now we got average Joe coming in, I need to clear up my target or my pin or whatever, and we're like, we can do it. There's a kit that's like $200. I'll take it. And it's like,
Okay.
Things are changing. You know what I mean? Like the $5 peep man that we're kind of accustomed to, and now they're buying $200 peep sights. That's crazy. And we try to keep a lot of that stuff in stock, but it's crazy. Things keep changing, and I guess I'm not quick enough to change or whatever. I'm always kind of hesitant, and then it's like, well, shit, this isn't took off.
I think back to like Bucks and Bass times. We were, we ordered the same thing over and over. Something new comes out, we never got really nothing new. We sold the one pin HHA sight. We sold the trophy takers and the biscuit. And
I remember when the Trophy Ridge stack sight, I don't remember what they're called now, they came out, and it was like, me and Dave were like, holy shit, look at these things. And then, that was the thing for a couple of years there.
I just think that even though we think it's, we've been proven wrong in the past by like the digital one pin from Trophy Ridge. We were like, okay, I don't know about this sight, but
Then we, built like a tank.
And
we sold a lot of them last year.
I just think that we, we've got to put that hesitation behind us and just bite the bullet on it, I guess, to keep up with the trend.
It's crazy, and there's no way to predict exactly what's going down.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the hard part, but it's something else. It's something else. It's what I don't know what else. I think that's all I wrote down about trends, but it's just crazy by the year what changes. You know what I mean? Like, we've had years, not really recently, but speed was a big thing. Now it's not really about speed. It's more about, if anything, kinetic energy and smoothness of the bow and all that sort of thing. And then
Comfort.
Yeah, comfort. Very few people come in saying, I want to shoot XYZ speed anymore. Let's talk about, I think somebody had sent in a question about center shot, and I was just going to throw out there, basically at home or for any shooter, the easiest way to set center shot is to do what we call a walk back tune. I think there's a couple-year-old video we did on it, but it's basically where you put a line up on your target, shoot it from a couple feet, make sure you're hitting the line left and right, don't really matter up and down. You back up to 20 or 30 yards and shoot. And if all of a sudden your group is consistently left, then that means your center shot needs to slightly move to the right.
Mm-hmm.
But keep in mind, you don't want to move your rest over and hit the line at 20, let's say, and leave. That's not it, because actually it's going to be about half of that, because then you need to go back to a couple feet, make sure it's still hitting there. So it's a process. It's going to take you a few minutes or an hour or something. But people don't understand. Yes, we've got lasers and we've got all this BS, and we can set it what's technically dead center, but that don't account for the torque that's put in a bow at full draw. And like a torque in a bow at 27 inches could be different from a torque in a bow at 31 inch draw. And that walk back tune is going to fine tune it. Don't get me wrong, all our laser mess is going to get it damn close and all that. But like for each individual shooter and grip and draw length and blah, 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 that walk back tune is where it's at.
Yeah.
Because the way people grip it and the way they torque it when they're at full draw, press it against their face.
Because if a long time ago, I had rigged up a device to measure roughly what tensions are on things at full draw. At full draw, the string itself has hardly anything on it. Like, if somebody's, don't derail their bow, but if somebody's at full draw, just touch their string, there's like 0 poundage on it hardly. The cable's loaded up to like 250 pounds, so it's really holding poundage. But to get that out of the way, your arrow, you got your cable slide or your roller or whatever, and that's all that's doing is torquing the hell out of the limbs that way. It's got to do it unless it's a shoot-through system. So technically that moves your center shot point over a little bit if those limbs are slightly torquing that way. So, I mean, there's all kind of stuff into it, but the wall back tune is an easy way to do it if you're wanting to get it like perfect, And that's one of those deals. You need to do it. You know what I mean? Like we could do it and get it close like with anything else, but the person needs to do it. And then with us, it gets into like, we get a new shooter in here. We're probably not going to do that, because if they can't hit a paper plate at 20 yards, we're just pissing in the wind trying to do some kind of walk back tune. Because unless it's a consistent doing this type of thing, we can't make an adjustment. But anyway,
and another thing with center shot is I hear it all the time, see it all the time. By my manual, it's 13/16.
That's a start
point.
But we were talking about this the other day. Yes, each bow's the same, but no two bows are going to have the exact same like deflection numbers on each limb.
Yep.
There's certain things that'll change. We have a lot of people that like that's their gold standard, is it says 7/8 or 13/16 or whatever, and I never go by that. Like I don't like that. I generally will either use that laser, or you can just eyeball string arrow, put it in the middle of your stabilizer starting point.
Yeah.
And then do a tune on it. But anyway, I mean, it's good that they put that in there as a like start here, and it's going to be damn close to that. Don't get it wrong. I mean, like within 64ths or even whatever. But it's not like set it and forget it. And in my opinion, what about all these different ways people are tying in peep sights? Suddenly, well, it's just because of social media and YouTube and TikTok and, Pornhub and all that stuff. People are tying in these peeps all sorts of wild ways.
Mm-hmm.
What I don't want to say aggravates us because the Gillingham way is what everybody's referring to it as.
Yeah.
And it's where you wrap around the peep, and then instead of having like above and below the peep tied, it goes down each leg of the string, I guess is the best way to put it. And your peep's definitely not going to ever move. But
Yeah.
what we're seeing is people are tying them in that way, then coming in here and saying, it ain't right. Can you cut it loose? And you can cut them loose, but you're going to spend 30 minutes effing with it and like cussing and all that. And it's like, if you're if you know it'll never move and you've shot for a while, it's kind of okay. But otherwise, it's like, this is a mess.
Well, you're trying to, cut the tag to get it untied. If it's done that way, it's very possible that it's going to nick a strand. There's really, I don't know of any way that.
I mean, I've took them off, but you got to very slowly take a razor and hope you don't.
Yeah.
I remember a guy come in here, somebody done stomped it outside.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at.
Somebody come in here wanting a peep switched out, and it's somebody we know. So like, I was like, here, you get this servant off here and I'll happily switch it out. And they ended up cutting, and this somebody that knows how to work on a bow. They ended up cutting a strand out of their string, and it's like, this is why we don't really do this. But I'm not really talking bad about it. I'm just saying, if you don't want it to move, that's fine. But if you ever got to take your peep out or move it.
Yeah.
Archery apps. Do y'all know of any archery apps that you use or you like or whatever? Because like, I know there's a sight-in app we've played with before. There's ones that you can keep score with. There's that bow Bible thing.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't really even looked at this. I thought about it and was like, I wonder if there's anything cool somebody knows about and we don't. If you do,
there's one now out there that's got. Don't hold me to it, but it's got all the Delta McKenzie and Reinhardt scoring rings updated on the target. Everybody used to. Three Rivers Archery had them, Third Hand.
Yeah.
Third Hand Archery. You'd order the Reinhardt and Delta McKenzie score. It was basically a little scorecard holder, but it had the rings of all the animals that they shot. So ASA, you shoot 20 targets, but different animals. Most of the time they had those targets on that card.
Yeah.
And then Reinhardt was just a mix of whatever they had at the time. And it was a reference chart or a little reference guide. You can look at the animal and say, okay, that's about where my 12 ring is or my 10 ring. But I can't remember the name of that app now.
I think I've or somebody talked about it. I don't know.
And the one I played with was that Archeryshack Mart, where you could take like your yardage. You got 3 yardages, and you could just move your
pointer.
There you go. Without putting actual sight tape on it, you could just use your scale on the side of it and say, okay, my 20 yard is 23 on the sight scale. Well, you could roll it down to 23 on the sight scale, and that's where, you'd hit 20 yards without a sight tape on it. I'm kind of wondering if that's what Paige is running, because I noticed on the shoot down, she would get her phone out and look at, I guess that's where she had her sight tape, and then put it back.
It's crazy because I remember in the early days of me shooting tournaments, well, I mean, computers were a thing, but not really a big, anyway, there wasn't such a thing as printing the sight tape at that point in time.
No.
So you had to have a cheat sheet that said, all right, when I set my slide bar on 32.9, that's 20 yards. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was a pain. Well, it wasn't a pain in the butt because it made you go shoot and get all your exact marks, but it was a whole lot different. When that Archer's Advantage came out, I still got it somewhere on an old floppy disk. And Dwight, he was like, you know about computers? He said, I'll go in Havers with you if you want to buy this, and you just, whatever I need printed, you print it, and then you figure out how to use it. And I was like, all right. And I did, and it was like wow. You know what I mean? Like, you can put it on 22 for 22 yards. You can put it on 42, and it was like, holy crap.
Yeah. I remember the cheat sheet, and you better hope you didn't lose it or it didn't get wet.
Oh, yeah, you were in a mess. Talking about trends earlier, here's a new trend. Again, probably because of social media. People changing out bows every week. We were talking about this the other day, and it seems like, and again, I know it sounds like we're old or something, but like, it just seems like people used to buy a bow and keep it at least a year, but usually several years.
Mm-hmm.
But now, like, people are just like boom, 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 like very often, switching. But I think part of the reason for that is it's so easily, you can get on Facebook basically and say, there's a phase 4. I like the way that looks. This guy's, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like a huge process to go like to the shop and it's an hour away and then you got to order a bow, then you got to wait a month. And you know what I mean? It's like, I can just jump on the internet and be like, hey, this guy's selling this. I like it. Do you want to trade, or do you want to, it's crazy how the internet has changed everything.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, when we were at Bucks and Bass, it closed right, in my opinion, right before the internet was like
Big time.
big. Yeah. Like 2008 basically was the end of Bucks and Bass, and the internet and all was there, but it wasn't like Facebook Marketplace. And I think Archery Talk existed, but there wasn't a ton of like buying and trading on there yet.
I remember Facebook existed, but it was mainly just
Yeah.
your buddies.
Here's my top friends.
Yeah. Farmville.
Yeah. I remember when Facebook come out and you had to have a college email address to get it. And Tri-County Tech wasn't on like the approved list, and I was pissed because like I knew some people that had it and they'd showed it to me, and I was like, damn it. Let's talk about the number one problem with crossbows. People don't change their strings out, and they explode, and they get hurt, and we see it every week. Kapow.
They treat it like a compound bow, and a crossbow you don't shoot every day and go out and target practice and play with like you can a compound bow. That ain't what they're designed for.
It's just so aggressive. And even the higher end ones, like a Raven, you gotta keep up with that maintenance. Honestly, like if I bought a Raven, let's say I'm average Joe, I buy a Raven and I want to shoot the hell out of it, I would probably go ahead, because I mean, when you're looking at $150, $200 on these bows like that to like ship it and get it restrung and, whatever you're going to do, I think I would just spend a couple $100 to get a Raven press. And then, even like contact us or whoever and say, hey, I want to buy like 10 Raven sets. Can you cut me a little bit of a deal? And then that way I would learn how to do it. You know what I mean? Because like if somebody came in here and basically told us that same story, we'd be willing to help and say, hey, we'll order you a Raven press. We can knock a little percentage off if you buy a ton of strings at one time. And then we would, it'd have to be the right circumstances, but basically we could show them like, here's how you restring it. Then they could take it home and do their own thing and without like shooting it for a month, bringing it back to us, shooting it for a month, bring it back to us. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I would probably go about it. Just knowing that, all right, when this wears out, I'll just switch it out at home in 15, 20 minutes and I'm good to go.
Oh, yeah.
But like with the cheaper Barnetts and this, that, and the other, I mean, you could technically do the same thing, but there's multiple, like a lot of people forget to use rail lube and then bust the serving, and then, a few shots after it busts the serving, it cuts into the string and boom, or they just shoot it, and it blows up, or, we've seen a few manufacturers that just basically were bad crossbows. When we start seeing like 15, 20 of the same model coming in that year, all blown up or cracked limbs or whatever, like there's probably a problem with that model, and we've seen that before. And a lot of times, each manufacturer's a little quirky. Like we can basically restring anything, but like with warranty parts, Barnett wants you to go through them directly and not through a dealer, but then like you could bring it back and we put them on, and then there's like 10 point. They want you to go to a service center, and like it's just some weird quirks in there.
Yeah.
People don't sometimes know about. Somebody had asked, why does my pin set to the left of my center shot? And that goes back to what I said earlier about the cable rod or the roller pulling the cables over. That puts torque in the system, and it usually makes almost a right-handed shooter. Almost everybody's pin is going to set to the left and opposite on a left-handed.
Mm-hmm.
My bow is loud. What steps should I take to fix it?
Limb savers.
There's limb saver.
There's
A good stabilizer with rubber on it. You know, I like a monkey tail.
a heavier arrow.
Yeah, heavier. I'll tell you what. They seen it, or TJ did. A Raven was in here the other day. He had the fire knock arrows with it, and I didn't even know it when I shot it. We restrung it. I shot it with a fire knock arrow, and it seemed a little slow. And I shot it with a factory arrow, and there was a huge difference in sound.
Yeah.
So I weighed the arrows out, and there was like 90 grains difference. The fire knock was way heavier. Of course, it was slower, but it's still moving.
Mm-hmm.
But like the sound difference was huge. Like, let's take a 70-pound bow, shoot a 350 grain arrow versus like a 450 or 500 grain arrow. You'll notice a big difference. So, but rubber on the string helps. Limb savers help.
You may want to also check if you've got a string stop. Make sure. A lot of people think that string's got to be digging into that stop, and it don't. You want like a business card or credit card width distance between the string stop and the string. So that's something to check.
And like even if it's set right, but then let's say you take 5 or 10 pounds off your bow, as the limbs let out, that can move it away or in, according to what you're doing. But that is a good point. I seen a PSE one time this was like 10 years ago, but making the god awfulest racket, and I kind of went over it. Finally, when I shot it, I could feel it, and that's what it was. It was digging into that rubber and slapping the hell out of it.
That's just something simple that you can check.
I was going to mention Ryan Merritt is making stabilizers. I know a lot of y'all that follow us follow the Merritt brothers. But Ryan, he's a machinist, and he has started making stabilizers. And I mean, they do look good. They look good. They got a Facebook page, I think.
Has he got one?
Give me a second. Let me find it. I should have had this on my phone before I mentioned it, but
Merritt Outdoor Design or
Merritt Archery Designs, and that's Ryan's page. And as soon as you bring it up, you'll see stabilizers, but definitely worth checking out. Let's talk about. I think somebody had emailed me this when I put this in here. Servant separation underneath the D loop and why that's happening. Usually, when you put a D loop on, yes, you want it tight to where it ain't gonna come loose, obviously. But if you absolutely hammer down on that thing, especially with some of these D loop pliers that are out now, I mean, and people are just giving it hell. There's no option. I don't care how tight or what material you use, it is going to separate and dig into that. And then the problem is it's so seated into that string because the servant's separated around the knots. You're probably going to have peak twist issues at that point. And then eventually, every now and then we'll get somebody call, hey, my servant's separated. And usually, like if we made the string, we'll just say, hey, if you can spare a few days, just ship it back. We'll throw you a new center servant on there and all is well. But there's a common theme of people, especially those Viper D-loop pliers, and we use them here, but you got to be careful because if you absolutely just hammer them, it's going to dig in.
Yeah.
Like it is going to dig in. So just a heads up on that. And also on the peep twisting issue, back to the tie-in method, basically, if you tie above and below the peep and that can slide pretty easy, that's going to make your peep twist because what's going to happen is you're going to tie it in semi-tight, and as you shoot, them knots are slowly going to come apart, and as that reduces, that bundle reduces stress between the opening there, you peep will twist. And I've had, not a ton, but several people kind of describe to me what's going on. Hey, my peep's doing this, that, and other, and it's that serving sliding on them. You know what I mean? So just according to how you tie it in, either put a decent amount of serving. Some people just tie around the peep. I'm not against that, but what'll happen is you could potentially catch that peep on something just randomly on your clothes while you're carrying it or whatever, and it'll slide a little bit, and then your sight's going to be off. But, I mean, I know people that just tie around them and have been fine, so it's up to you. That definitely won't interfere with anything. The crazy way I was talking about earlier, the Gillingham way or whatever, it won't twist, but like I say, you ain't going to ever get it out of there, with a blowtorch and a chisel. But anyway, I thought I'd bring that up.
And then the dog legging down opposite sides.
I think it looks neat, like on this bow.
It does.
I think it looks clean. It ain't gonna move. But I think it's not that hard to get off. It's a little harder than in other ways, but I don't know. There's 100 different ways of tying a peep. It's just as long as it's gonna stay put and nothing's gonna move, you're pretty much good. And then I didn't really write this down, but you put a new string. I don't care who makes it, but you put a new string on your bow. Yes, it's been under all this tension and stretched and all that, but what it hadn't done, well, first of all, it's been crumpled up in a pack, so it's got to kind of get back stretched out when it gets on the bow. And a funny fact, a string is kind of like a rubber band. I can put this thing on 400 pounds of tension for 30 minutes and measure it, and then come back 30 minutes later and just put the tension on, take it off and measure it, and I'm not talking about a substantial amount, but it'll actually shrink up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, once you get it out of the pack and all unraveled and put it on the bow, it's not necessarily stretching, but it's getting seated.
It's getting seated
into those cam tracks, and it's been crumpled up in a package. And so we've told people, put 10 or 20 shots on the thing and get it used to the bow. You know what I mean? It's even like some cams, the way the cables are out. A Bowtech's a good example. If you watch when I let it out of the press on just a random Bowtech, sometimes the way it does all that maneuvering, you'll notice it's still not even 100% tight to the post.
Yep.
So you shoot it a few times, that kind of gets out. You just want to get it seated, I guess is the best way to put it into that particular bow and go from there.
And most of the time, you're still going, I call it a break-in period. Because a lot of people, put a new string on, they shoot it a few times, shoot it through the paper, chronograph. Some people may just put it back in the case and, get it out right before hunting season, and they start shooting, and you get a little bit of peep twist. You kind of need to put some shots through it so everything, that's where we're getting settling in the cam tracks.
There's a ton of, even a cable driven rest needs to kind of set. We've seen those cables stretch before, and it causes issues. And
well, even on a limb driven, the cord will stretch a little bit, and you tighten it back down, you're good to go.
And if it's hot where you live, you kind of want to get it used to the humidity and well, to a certain degree, strings and string material is finicky. Now, we're talking about thousandths here, but different things happen at different humidity levels and temperatures and blah, 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 blah. So, put it on there, shoot it, get it used to the bow, and then like TJ said, then shoot it, 100 times or something, a good many times, and let it really get settled in. And, once you get your peep in and you loop on and that sort of thing, because it'll, it's just got to get used to where it's going. My favorite way to string a bow is when it's here and I can take it directly off the stretchers, not crumpled up, and just put it on the post, right around the cam, right on the post. And it's just to me, that's as perfect as I can put it on without it actually being on the bow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's here you go, and it's not crumpled up or whatever. But anyway,
and I know I've heard this before. My D loop is straight, but my peep is sitting a little sideways. I'm like, is that at full draw or is that at rest? It's at rest. I said, what is it at full draw? It's straight. A lot of that's got to do with being tied in a certain.
there's a ton of stuff. Even the release you use can
Yeah.
mess with the loop, like, if it's a hook versus a this versus that, and kind of affect how that thing sits a little bit. You know what I mean? Now, if you're pulling it back and it's doing a 180 or something, all right, there's a problem going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sometimes can sit just a little bit crooked, and there's something going on with whatever, the release or this or that. But it, I really feel like one thing not talked about a lot, especially with these new peeps, like you're taking a specialty peep or a Hamsky peep or whatever with a lens in it. I've weighed them before, but I don't remember what they weigh. Let's just say they're 30 grains. And you're basically putting a 30 grain speed knock right in the top center of the string. That's got to affect the tune of that bow to some degree. I wonder at what point do we start figuring out, like, I mean, this is super, like, nerdy, but, like, do we change the speed knock configuration because we've got 30 grains randomly sitting here versus if we're shooting a regular peep versus if we're not shooting a peep versus whatever? Because basically several manufacturers have told me we just take a 29-inch bow and start playing with these speed knocks, and whatever gets us the most speed,
that's what we go with.
Whether it's a 26 or a 30. And from personal experience, now it's been a while since I've done this, but a 26-inch draw lacks a different configuration than a 30-inch draw. It might like more weight or less weight or it in a different spot. And that's one thing I like about those sleeves. If you're a tinkerer and you got a chronograph or whatever, you can you can start moving them, and there is a sweet spot where it's going to gain the most feet per second. And another thing, back to the peep sight ordeal, Hoyt bows is a good example. There's some Hoyt bows that's got like one set of speed knocks on top, but two on bottom. I've played around before and not put that second set on the bottom and could not get that arrow to fly right. Added those speed knocks back and it bullet holes. So I hadn't even grasped or really put a whole lot of thought into it, but that weight on that string is affecting how that arrow is coming off of the string, and basically it's affecting how quick the top and bottom is getting onto that cam, how quick, you know what I mean? So there's all kind of little finicky stuff like that most people don't care about, but like, used to speed knocks wasn't that big a deal, but like with these newer Matthews, it's got like 30 of them and all. It'll make the bow a lot louder without them. And I had one guy tell me he didn't put them on the string, and then he lost like 13 feet per second. It's a pretty big deal.
And I know there's a couple bows out there that they say that you've got to run these speed knocks in this exact location or it will blow up.
Yeah, and what I've
heard
about that is there's so much, I don't know of another word, but whiplash going on with that particular system that it could potentially derail, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, good Lord. But anyway, what else can we talk about? That's all I got.
We got a new shipment of bears in.
We got
Alaskans, Adapt.
More Adapts. We still got some, I don't even know that Bear has really advertised them, but they came out with those 2 new colors or 3 new colors, whatever it was.
The stone with the carbon fiber limbs. Really good looking, legit.
We got those. We got a lot of Bear stuff. So definitely check that out. We really hadn't got into any sort of busy season yet for this to occur, but I'm waiting on people to start coming in and shooting that execute and saying this bow, being a little bit less than these other high-end bows, shoots as good as
other flagships.
Yeah, as other flagships. I'm waiting to start hearing that a little bit, but it'll be more when we start getting more of a crowd in. But
the only thing about that bow is I wish they would have simplified the adjustments on that cam, because I mean, if you get off a 64th of a mark, it's all messed up.
Yeah. What they've got is, basically the let off is what confuses it. You can take that bow and move it from like 75 to 90% let off, and it's got like a plus and minus thing on the cam. And you basically, there's a sheet that says, all right, for 29, it needs to be on, there's 3 things you got to line up. It's basically what it was down to. Whereas other bows, there's 1 or 2 things. So you just got to kind of pay attention and be like, all right, I got it on plus A2 or whatever.
Yeah.
Or, it could feel funky, or it might not have any let off or something crazy like that. But I think they stepped it up with that bow. I hope they continue. I'd love to see that bow in like a 34.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly think it would have a little more twanginess to it, being that a little longer, but I think it would be a good shooter. I think set up, you wouldn't notice it. And maybe that'll come out next year. I don't know, but I like it. And I still think those legits for the money, man.
They're a great selling bow. That and the adapts.
Those adapts have went absolutely wild in the last year.
They have.
I would have never thought. I mean, I knew they'd be popular, and it was weird because they came out in like July or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, send us 2 of them or something, and they were gone. And then we ended up kept ordering, and then we ordered them at the ATA, and basically ran out already this year. Ordered more, so they're a solid bow. Got a limb stop. It's a simple solo cam, good length. I mean,
it is. Forgive embrace height.
Mm-hmm. But I don't know. Bears really stepped it. I mean, I'm not trying to just talk about them because we sell them, but like
they've stepped their game up.
The Alaskan is a winner.
It is.
The legit. I mean, it's just so adjustable, and I feel almost stupid for ordering like that Prowess. The Prowess is targeted at ladies, but compared to the legit, it's so got you in a corner because it only adjusts like what
10 pounds, 15 pounds,
and the draw length will only go down to
25, 24.
Because I remember we sold that one, and I had to like take it to the very edge to make it work. When the legit's a little heavier bow,
Mm-hmm.
but not physically. But
I think 23 to 28 on that price.
sounds right. Yeah.
And 25 to 50 pounds maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it
No,
it's like
it's 45 to 60 or.
I think they only advertised 10 pounds because when Tiffany got that one, I remember I let it off the max amount. I think maybe 12 pounds came on both.
Struggling to pull it though.
And I went ahead, even though I wasn't supposed to, went like another half, and then they kind of put it where it was semi-comfortable. But I like the look of that Prowess. It's just I wish it had more adjustability. And we got 1 or 2 of them in, but we know the legit's kind of the one. So I feel like the people have called us about the species, and then we sold a ton of species bows the past couple years. But basically, between it and the legit, we felt like the legit gives you a little more bang for the buck, and basically the adapt is sort of an upgraded species. So that's kind of the route we went. Was like, if you're set on that, we feel like the adapt is the way to go. Because I mean the species and the legit are sort of the same bow, but one's a solo cam, one's a 2 cam. The species is not quite as adjustable, and it's a little slower, and that's so that's why we were like the legit. And last year, I feel like last year nobody said they had to have the species. We've had a few calls this year like that's what they wanted, but
the legit was hands down our best seller last year.
Well, even like average Joe that walks in and don't know anything, we'd say, here, shoot these 2. They'd always pick the legit.
Yeah. It was very rare that somebody picked the species
over the legit.
There was no real good. I would ask some of them like, just why'd you pick this one? And there was never like a definite answer, so that kind of confused me. I didn't know if it was just the look of it or was it the feel of it, but there was a bunch of random stuff. So I don't know. Anyway, we'll get off here. If you think you need one of these Matthews bows, holler at Bobby at Archeryshack.com. It's a DXT and a Reason 6.5.
No, adrenaline and a Reason.
Oh, my bad. 5. With Matthews quivers and sights and dropaways, and one's got a Matthews stabilizer. We'll get them. Give us a few days. I mean, we'll get them out there, some more information, but they won't be here long. So holler if you need them. Holler if you need a string, ArcheryshackStrings.com. If you use the code YouTube15, it'll get you 15% off. You get on there, click, some bows take a 2-piece, 3-piece, 5-piece, boom, just type in your bow and what color you want, and we'll take care of the rest. If we can't figure it out, we'll call you, but we'll figure it out. And if you're local, I don't have a date yet, but in the next month, we're going to start doing a Thursday night 3D shoot, random draw, random team draw, like we used to do back in the day when we'd have the big crowd show up, and let people win some money. But it's like captain's choice. I'll explain it more once we figure out the specifics of the date. But if you're local, it's a fun little deal. And we used to have people come win a couple $100 when we used to do them on Sunday afternoon. So I'm thinking Thursday evening. It's not quite the weekend. What the bad thing about doing them on Sunday was basically, like, for me at the time, it killed my whole day because I had to, put targets out, deal with the shoot, get, everybody wants to hang around forever, then get the targets up and all that. So I didn't want to really do that again because I got a youngin' now. But on Thursday night, we could start this thing at 6 when we technically close the shop. But we'll, obviously we'll already be here, do the shoot. It'll last an hour or whatever, hour and a half at max. Not a big deal because we're already here, and it'll be good. And it's almost the weekend, so everybody should be loose as a goose, ready to win some money. But we'll give you all the details very soon. It'll probably just be like a 10 to 15 target, known 3D deal. It'll be cool.
When I've had several people email about the bear daps and stuff like that, if you are interested in getting an adapt or any of the bear bows that we can sell you, the Legit is one of them, and you don't want the ready to hunt package, but you do want accessories, yes, we can. One of the biggest questions I get asked online and the emails is, can I customize the accessories? Yes, you can customize the accessories. We can sell you the accessories, whatever you prefer. Limb-driven rest, drop-aways. We can install them for you. We can make you a price, a custom price, send you an invoice and pay for it, and ship it out to you. And you can have the setup that you wanted, a custom setup that you wanted. You do not have to just get the ready-to-hunt package from the factory.
Oh, yeah. And we'll have people say, I want the ready-to-hunt, but can I put a drop-away on it? Absolutely. We'll do whatever you want to do. Or, I want a certain quiver. I want to.
We've done a lot of it already.
Yeah.
I still get asked that a lot.
Oh, yeah. We'll do whatever you can come up with.
Absolutely.
And we can do arrows or no arrows or whatever. Float shore boat, we can handle it. So just let us know. And I think the way that normally goes, a lot of times people will go to Archeryshack.com, and there's a little section that basically says, I'm interested in a bow, and there's a few details like of what you're looking for. It'll come to us. And then a lot of times Bobby will be the one and will say, hey, here's kind of what we got, or here's what we can get, or he'll ask more questions and figure out what exactly you're looking for, and then kind of go from there. And then once we get it figured out, we can basically send you an invoice, and within a couple of days. And I mean, sometimes we have to order something. It don't happen a lot, but occasionally somebody's wanted a specific color we were out of on like a bow.
Yep.
And it takes a few weeks to get, but usually, we can have something on the way in 2 or 3 days.
And then we did just get a couple of the olive adapts in. That was a really popular color. We were sold out, but we got a couple of them in, so we do have 2 or 3 in stock right now.
And I think we got one of each color of the Alaskan in, so those went quick. We got some Alaskans right now.
Yep.
But anyway, just holler at us. And we appreciate y'all watching. Let us know if you got any questions or want us to talk about something next week or whatever. We hadn't really done like a big thing of questions in a while, which I hadn't really looked many up lately. So what people said, but just let us know. We'll do it. And I guess we'll see y'all next week.
See y'all.
See ya.